Warning, the following contains very educational material and may bore you to death. I'm not held liable for anyone who killed themselves due to how boring this may be, or those who completely lost their mind or were otherwise bored out of their mind by what I'm about to present to you. Now then, one may think that economics is limited to stock investing or whether or not our country owes money to another country. In this video I intend to discredit that notion and introduce a variety of concepts that happen all around us whether we're completely aware of them or not. Economic activity happens the very moment you step outside your door, hence why I'm filming outside. You're forced into an important decision. And this is assuming that maybe you were asked to go to the store, you know, maybe your mom needed milk from the convenience store or grocery store or wherever. I'm now walking to the bus stop, assuming that I was indeed asked to go fetch something. Okay, correction, I'm near the car. The question is, do I take this lovely car with its gas mileage and it'd probably cost me about $5 to go from here to the Ralph's? Or do I walk all the way over to the bus stop on PCH over here and pay about $150 per bus maximum and maybe take 1 or 2 buses there and back? That is an important question. Assuming I'm just going there for a few things that are fairly trivial, it might make more sense to take the bus. But if, for instance, I had a large load I needed to bring home, or I simply didn't want to wait an hour because I got there and just missed the bus by 1 minute, I may consider the car in that context. The opportunity cost of driving would be money and gasoline, even if it's not a lot. The opportunity cost of taking the bus is obviously just an issue of time and can you fit all that stuff onto the bus. The opportunity cost, as I understand it, is that thing that we give up or get less of in response to a decision that we made or are about to make. Now let's assume we've arrived at the store. You get inside the store and you see all these cool items. You know, you're perusing around, you might see price stickers with one item in a larger quantity obviously being more expensive up front, but still yet another one being significantly cheaper, but maybe smaller, or maybe it's a store brand. This is where the concept of inferior versus normal goods comes in, as well as cost per ounce, cost per pound. The cost per ounce or cost per pound is that little tiny square that you have to really be looking for on the price sticker, if there even is one. Otherwise you'd have to do a calculation yourself. But in most cases, one can pretty much tell which one is the better deal because the larger one, although more expensive up front, will in the long term save you more money in most cases. Likewise, the store brand tends to be a better deal than the heavily advertised brands, because you have to pay for their advertising and everything. But we still consider the store brand to be an inferior good because there's less effort to sell it to you. Even if the taste may be exactly the same. Now, how does this affect... Now, okay, what things affect our day-to-day decisions within this grocery store? Supply and demand. In other words, the store is considered the supplier. They are willing to give you X number of units, but how much are you willing to pay for those units? Well, they'll have their sale prices, but they may say limit this many, or even if there is no price limit, there will be a limited time in which you can probably expect that deal. In other words, as the price changes, suppose the price were going up. As the price goes up, the demand goes down, not because people don't, say, want the item, but it could be because they can't afford it or just don't want to pay the cost necessary to get the item. Now, if, on the other hand, the price goes down, the suppliers are less willing to supply the items to the customers for that price. But the customers are willing to buy more of those items, which can sometimes cause a level of scarcity. An example would be demand pull inflation. Some of us may remember when the PlayStation 3, the Wii, or the Xbox 360 were all released initially. On that very year, they were in such demand, and the companies that made them anticipated this and drove up the price anticipating this. There was just a lot of demand. Everyone and their brother wanted to get their hands on these systems. Even with the prices being as high as they were, $300+ depending on how much RAM you wanted in your PS3 or whatnot. How many gigabytes of memory, things of that nature. Even with the prices exceeding over $300 for any of those systems, people wanted them like crazy. People were literally, they were pretty much rioting in Black Friday's sales and everything, and they were literally fighting to get them. I myself went after those very same systems, not necessarily in Black Friday sales, but just in regular holiday sales, and I was lucky to get my hands on a PS3 during all the craziness, but I had a choice of either a PlayStation 3 or a Wii, and once I got one of them, I couldn't seem to get my hands on the other two for quite a while. Took me a few years to get them. This is how demand pull inflation can be very extreme. What demand pull inflation means is there's a scarcity in the number of items relative to the demand. In other words, the demand is so high for an item that a supplier, no matter what they do, cannot seem to provide enough to satisfy that demand. So in that way, demand pull and inflation and scarcity are almost one and the same. Although scarcity is a more general term for any time that there's never enough resources to satisfy an unending amount of wants. And scarcity isn't just material. It can also be non-material things. In other words, even if you're as rich as Bill Gates, or maybe even a son or daughter of him, maybe for a time in the heat of things, and maybe even still now, you probably don't get a lot of attention from him when he's that rich. He's always probably trying to find a way to manage his money and keep it going, keep that economic status going. Certainly a lot of rich people would be that way. A lot of people who strive to be wealthy have to allocate a lot of time to stay that way. And as a result, something's got to give, whether it's time with family, whether it's more responsibility for the well-being of others. Maybe they don't have much social time, maybe they don't have many friends, maybe they don't trust people, or maybe they don't even have time for the stuff they worked so hard to get. In that respect, scarcity isn't always material. All that said and done, economics is very relevant to our real lives, no matter what socioeconomic status we are in. That is all. Thank you for your time.